Hello everyone. If you've been watching my videos at all, you will have seen that quite a number of those videos address issues to do with gender equality and gender issues in general, issues to do with feminism and so on, and you'll have sort of an idea of, well, you may have an idea of what my views are. In this video I'm going to talk about women's rights and where I lie with that. This isn't a video about feminism. I've made videos about my stance on that. I may have a bit of a conclusion at the end, but this is specifically about women's rights. Okay, we have to establish first of all what we mean by rights. Now, to me, women's rights are human rights. Women are human beings, and the need for women's rights is a need for fundamental human rights for women. Human rights also cover men's rights as well, but this isn't a video about men's rights. I'll probably make another video about that. One thing I would like to say is that there are many parts of the world and many areas where women still don't have equal rights and where women do suffer. This is without question. Without question. This video may arguably be a response to some radical men's rights activists, radical masculists, who often give the impression that that doesn't exist. I'll make another video about why I'm not a masculist, which some people may be surprised by because I'm very critical of many aspects of feminism, but I'm not a masculist. Anyway, this video is about women's rights. Let's look at some areas where women obviously suffer. In many parts of the world, they're not paid the same. Now, someone pointed out the other day that equality is not the same as equity, but I think there's still issues there. If a woman's doing the same job as a man, then in my opinion she should be paid exactly the same, no more, no less. Someone will say the male productivity rate's greater because they have more strength and so on, but the fact of the matter is they're doing the same hours, etc. They should get the same pay. In many parts of the world, it's obvious that religion can hurt women, and obviously religious women are going to disagree with me on this, but I think that's obvious. In many Islamic countries, it goes without saying that women suffer in many areas. And this isn't a straight-cut case. I'm not going to say Islam and oppression of women are exactly hand in hand. It certainly exists. But there are examples. For example, the current president of Bangladesh is a woman. Bangladesh is an Islamic country. And there are examples of powerful Muslim women. But I do think there's too many Muslim women who are apologists for some of the realities here. In, I believe, Saudi Arabia, for example, it's very easy for a man to divorce his wife, but much, much harder for a wife to divorce her husband. Pakistan is one of the very worst examples of treatment of women. A good example recently being the shooting of 14-year-old Malala. I'm afraid I can't pronounce her surname, so I won't try. But basically, she's a teenage girl who campaigned for girls' education. She was shot by the Taliban. Now, I'm not going to say that's Pakistan, the state, that's doing that, but it's symbolic of some of the problems Pakistan faces. To be fair, clerics have condemned that and issued a fatwa against the Taliban for doing it. And there's people in Pakistan, many people in Pakistan, who were disgusted by what happened. But there are many examples of, let's talk about a taboo issue here, honour killings. Now, you cannot tell me that within Muslim communities there is not an issue with honour killings. You cannot say that is not an issue. Let's just get rid of political correctness and stop pretending that there isn't an issue with this, when there very clearly is. Especially in Kurdish communities and some South Asian communities. And this happens in Britain, whereby women perceived to have disgraced their family are basically murdered, often by male relatives, brothers and fathers, but sometimes also by female relatives, including mothers. And we've had several high-profile cases in the UK where young Pakistani girls have been killed by their own family for bringing so-called dishonour. Now, political correctness doesn't frighten me. I don't care what people say about that. It's a simple, cold, hard fact. It exists. That's a fact. Does that mean everyone in the Pakistani Muslim community supports it? No, but I believe many do. and I believe this issue is not being spoken about as much as it should be. So that's an area where women very clearly suffer honour killings. Now actually men are impacted by honour killings as well. Young men have also been killed and persecuted, but I think the ratio is much higher for women. So it's a very serious issue of concern. And I think it's barbaric, the way some women are treated. In Pakistan, if a woman is raped, you would think that a rape victim will be treated with sympathy and get justice. But no, she will be treated as a slut who has brought dishonour on her family. And I think that's absolutely inhumane. It's barbaric. It tends to be in more tribal sort of areas. That's a problem that exists. And if you're Pakistani, you can't dispute that problem exists. And that's obvious. There's other areas of women's rights. In Africa, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, women are routinely used as weapons of war, whereby rape is actually a tactic, whereby opposing rebel factions will, some towns have had multiple rapes, thousands of rapes over a period of months. This year it's been documented with the M23 insurgency in North Kivu. This is a very serious problem, and it exists across the Arab world. The problem with, again, South Asia, we hear of acid attacks on women who have been perceived to have dishonoured their family. So there's many areas where women clearly suffer badly. And we all should also not pretend that just because there has been equality legislation. Now in other videos I pointed out that in terms of legislation there has been equality in Western countries. And there's no doubt about it, I believe the situation for women in Western countries is massively better than it is in some other parts of the world. But we can't pretend that it's perfect either. In terms of legislation, I believe we're at a near egalitarian stage, if not already there. Because I can't think of any legislation that actually discriminates against women. But let's not pretend that it's perfect either. I don't believe in terms of rape cases enough victims of rape get justice. The rate of conviction is very low in the UK. That may be because women are frightened of coming out. I have my own theory on that. I think there's been a phenomenon in recent years of some individual women who have lied about rape, and that's obviously, they've ruined male lives and so on. Maybe some genuine victims of rape have been put off coming forward in case they're accused of being a liar, and that would be tragic. I believe anyone who makes a rape allegation should be treated with sympathy, respect, and the sort of compassion that you would expect of a very serious crime. And the rate of conviction is too low for the number of cases that are reported. Another problem is that is domestic violence. Namaskios was saying men suffer from domestic violence too. Absolutely, they do. And that should be equally condemned. And I don't believe feminists even bother raising that issue. But where I disagree with Masculists is they've actually went to the point, I'm talking about radical Masculists, of denying that this problem even exists. And it does exist. Sometimes it's a case whereby if a local football team loses, a man may get drunk and then decide to take it out on his long-suffering girlfriend or wife. This exists, and to pretend that it doesn't just isn't accurate. There are women who are used regularly as punch bags. I don't go along with the claim that some make that it's 1 in 3 women. That's a dangerous exaggeration. But there is a lot of women who suffer this, and we have to acknowledge that and offer them the full support and sympathy that they are required. And another point I'd like to make, any self-respecting man, any man with any conscience, any man who respects true masculinity will come out and condemn these cases where women do suffer, whether that be rape, domestic violence, or those examples I gave from around the world. I also go along with the thing that there's areas where men undoubtedly suffer as well. So If you're a guy, don't get me confused. I'm not a feminist, but I staunchly believe in women's rights, as I believe in human rights in general. And I don't believe you have to call yourself a feminist to believe in women's rights. Speaking for myself, I love women. I really do. I love women. I respect women. I see them as my sisters in humanity. In fact, the people I can think of I have the most contempt for in public life are all men, ironically. Um, Genuinely, I got on very well with women. I love women, and I believe in genuine equality, equal opportunity. I don't go along with some feminist double standards, and I've made that clear in other videos, but I don't want that to be confused with opposing the real issues that women face in many parts of the world. I don't believe that's. I don't go along with the feminist claim that women are all victims in Western developed societies and men are princes of privilege, and that is a claim that feminists often make. Um, I believe in Western societies there's roughly equal issues that both men and women face, and both sorts of issues need to be addressed. But any man with any decency will respect women in every sense that takes. Um, that means accepting that no means no. Rape is rape. There's never any excuse for rape. And a man who hurts a woman with his fists on a regular basis is a coward. And speaking for myself, any man that hurt any woman in my life, I'd find it hard to restrain myself. And I'm not just saying that for bravado, that's a sincere view. I'm not saying it would be reckless, but I would find it hard to, if a woman I cared about, in fact any woman for that matter, I'm the sort of man who, if I saw a woman being attacked on the street, I wouldn't look the other way, I'd get involved. Now that may be, some people may say that's naive or whatever, but that's the sort of man I am. That doesn't mean I think women should be necessarily given special privileges. I'm chivalrous to an extent, and I know some men have a big issue with that. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I do value women who value chivalry, and some women are very rude about it. I'm not saying as men we have to be overtly chivalrous. In fact, I might make another video about this. This is quite an interesting subject in itself. But I tend to be, when I say I believe in chivalry, that doesn't mean I put on a mockish sort of front and pretend to always agree with women. I will vocally disagree with women if I disagree with them. And there are women I don't like as people, and I will have strong views against. But generally speaking, I believe in chivalry. But anyway, that's for another video. I don't want to distract that with this video, which is women's rights. Any decent man will acknowledge that there are issues where women don't have equal rights. Will acknowledge that true equality means equal opportunity, equal responsibility. That's not the same as quotas in my view, or coercion, or all women shortlists, which are all ridiculous. But perhaps one reason I want to make this video is because I don't want misunderstandings. I have made a number of videos now quite critical of feminism, and I don't want people to confuse me as being some sort of radical MRA. I'm really not. I believe in men's rights, but I do believe in women's rights. And saying you believe in women's rights doesn't make you some sort of fiery feminist, because I'm not. I just believe in human rights in general, and I genuinely get on well with women. I like women. And as men, we have to accept that there's areas where women do get a raw deal, and we have to speak up against that. And I'm sort of running out of time here, so I'll maybe close there. But this is a video just emphasizing that I do believe in women's rights. And when it comes to women's rights, we have to break down the shackles of political correctness when it comes to religious sensitivities or cultural sensitivities. Where women are suffering, we have to speak out. And by the way, women who condone that, shame on you. Shame on you for condoning human rights abuses against your fellow women. Shame on you for not admitting that this problem exists. And I've come across Muslim women who are very stubborn about this and won't acknowledge some basic areas such as honour killings. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you.